Alrighty then. Sound like Jim Carrey. Alright, my friends, Ruben Obed here is back doing episode 4 of Solar Power for Dummies. And this episode is basically going to teach people how to make their own solar system in 4 easy steps. Yes, 4 easy steps. Contrary to what many companies are thinking and saying, making this sound extremely difficult, it is not difficult. It is very simple to do, at least when you're at doing a 12 volt system. If you are upgrading to 24, 48 volts, well, it does get a little more complex, but this is talking about a 12 volt system. You need four things, all right? Four things. You need a solar panel, you need a battery, you need an inverter, and a charge controller. Okay? Those are four things you need. You don't need anything else, all right? Now, if you have a 12 volt system, it means that your solar panel has to be a 12 volt solar panel. Okay, now a 12 volt solar panel, it's called a 12 volt solar panel, but they really give you from 18 to 20 volts. Okay, because in order to fill a 12 volt battery, you need higher voltage or higher electrical pressure to force those amps inside of that battery to charge it up. So we go out and we buy a 100-watt solar panel, okay? A 100-watt solar panel for 12 volts, okay, for a 12 volt system. That solar panel, which is made for a 12 volt system, will give you about 18 to 20 volts, okay? Now, what happens is the solar panel has two cables, red and black, positive and a negative. You cannot simply connect that red and black cable to your battery because the voltage is too high and it will damage your battery, okay? And it'll overcharge your battery and it could explode. So what you do is you purchase a little box called a charge controller. So you connect the solar panel to the charge controller. What the charge controller does, it takes those 20 volts or 18 volts and it lowers it down to a voltage that isn't too high that it will damage your battery. It will control it. So you connect the solar panel to the charge controller, and the charge controller. In fact, I'm going to show it to you. Very simple. Okay, here it is. All right, you got a solar. Imagine I show you the solar panel. Okay, this is the battery. That's a charge controller right there. Okay, in the right here in the first two buttons, you put the positive of the solar panel and the negative, and that's the battery, the positive and the negative. Okay, now when you're doing something like this, you got to make sure that you connect the battery first. Do not connect the solar panels to the charge controller first. Do not. Okay, connect the charge controller to the battery first. That way the charge controller knows what kind of a battery it's charging. Then, after the charge controller is connected, then you connect the cables to the solar panels and it will start receiving electricity. So that's basically all you got to do. You get a solar panel and a 12 volt, preferably deep cycle battery, and a charge control. These charge controllers, this one in particular, they're all over online. Hold on, camera switched. These are all over online. These are very cheap. You can get them for $10, sometimes even cheaper, 10 depending how many amps. Okay, but if you only have one solar panel, with one of these simple ones will suffice. These are called PWM charge controllers, which means pulse width modulation. What this does is basically just an on and off switch, and it monitors your batteries, and when it is full, it turns off. Okay, that's the simple technology of charge controllers. Now, there's a newer technology which is the most popular and the most efficient, which is Mppt. So, as I was explaining in the video, when you put a charge controller, that voltage from your solar panel, which is about maybe 20, it gets lowered to 13 or 14. So you lose all that extra voltage, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and you lose about 6 volts of power. You know, what an MPPT charge controller does it takes that voltage. This is an MPPT charge controller. This is an MPPT charge controller. So if you notice here, okay, if I show you here, okay, in fact, let me show you from the monitor. It's a little bit more, okay, because the monitor is basically has all the numbers. Okay, now if I show you here, this is the monitor, and right here you have the solar panel, and it's bringing in 15.1 volts, okay, and at 11.9 amps. Now, that is feeding it into the battery. But if you notice, I'm getting more amps than what the solar panel is putting out. Why? Because the remaining voltage, the one that would have normally got lost, the MPPT charge controllers boosts it, so it gives me an extra little more power. Okay, so that is the benefit of having an MPPT charge controller. You basically get more juice out of your solar panel. So just to put it in simple terms, okay? So that's the battery. That's at the voltage my battery is at right now, 13.8, and that's the amps going into my battery, okay? So, you know, what are the 4 steps? Okay, so you put a solar panel on the roof. You connect it, you get a charge controller, you connect the charge controller to a battery, and you connect the solar panel to the charge controller. So those are the 3 steps. Solar panel connected to the charge controller connected to the battery. You always make sure you put the charge controller first. Connect the charge controller first. Okay, those are the 3 steps. What's the 4th step? Well, how are you going to use that energy? That's where the inverter comes in. All right, so you buy an inverter, which is one of these. You know, these are bigger. These are little tiny inverters, okay? But they all do the same thing. They take the 12 volts from a battery and they turn it into usable 120 volts regular house electricity. That's what the inverter does. It takes the electricity from the battery, which is 12 volts, and it multiplies it and turns it into 120 volts so that you can connect, you know, whatever it is you want to connect, your TV, your fan, or whatnot. Now, that's basically it, guys. That is a solar system. That is how you build a solar array. You know, it's 4 steps. Now, what happens is when you look at this mess here, this is the same exact thing. The only difference is that I connected all these batteries together. So we have 4 gauge cable connected to the positive, to the positive, all the positives are connected, all the negatives are. So in essence, this turns one battery into one huge battery. But it's still 12 volts because we connected it in parallel. Parallel means positive to positive and negative to negative. That's parallel. Positive to positive, negative to negative. And one more time, positive to positive and negative to negative gives you parallel. All right? So that's all you do. You solar panel, charge controller, the inverter, and the battery. That's all there is to building a solar system, a 12 volt solar system. Now, there are little details. For example, when you have a 12 volt system, your wires have to be thicker. Reason being is that when the voltage is lower, the amperage, which is like the current, or let's call it water, is more. So the cable has to be thicker. Now, when you do other systems where the voltage is like 24 volts, 48 volts, you can get away with thinner wires because there's more voltage running through, but there's less amps going through. So it's kind of backwards in an essence. You know, so if you're doing a 12 volt system, you know, you have to have thicker wires than if you're doing a 24 volt system. You know, but that is pretty much it. Those are 4 steps, guys. 4 steps to building a solar system. You know, so it is not difficult. You know, with a 100 watt panel, for example, all right, 12 volt for 12 volts, it'll cost you maybe $100, right? A charge controller, if you go with the cheapo one, the little, you know, the little PWM, little blue one that I first showed you, that'll run you maybe 10, $15. All right, so now we're looking at $115. You buy yourself a battery, Battery might cost you $100. If you get it, if you get a make sure try to get deep cycle. Please don't use car batteries. They're not made for that, and you're gonna damage them. They're gonna they won't last you a year. Get something that says deep cycle, and an inverter. You know, Inverters are cheap. Inverters are like 50 bucks. You know what I mean? Now, if you're trying to run a refrigerator or something big, just common sense, you're gonna need more batteries. You're gonna need more solar panels. You're gonna need a bigger inverter. So it all depends on what you are gonna run. But if all you're gonna run is a little fan, you could buy yourself like this one, like a 400 watt. You can pick these up at Advanced Auto Parts for like 40, 50 bucks. Okay, that'll run a TV, fan, your modem, your laptop. That's more than enough power. Now, if you want to run a fridge, then you have to get a bigger inverter. This one's 2,000 watt. This will run a fridge. But if I'm going to run a fridge, I can't do it off of just one battery. I have to have more batteries. Okay, that's where it starts getting, I wouldn't say complicated, but the investment is higher, and it gets a little more daunting, but after you learn the basics, all it is just to multiply it. You if your TV runs a good 4 hours with a small setup that you built, then if you had another battery, it has to be the same battery. You don't want to be mixing matching batteries. You buy another battery and you put it in parallel, then that TV is gonna last 8 hours. And if you add another battery, it's gonna last 4 more hours. And that's how it goes. You know what I mean? The more batteries you add, the longer it's gonna, whatever it is you connect to it is gonna run. So that's pretty much it, guys. Those are the four things. Get yourself a deep cycle battery, a charge controller, a solar panel, and an inverter. And you're ready to go. You're ready to rock and roll. You know what I'm saying? And as when you build that, then you will start understanding the whole concept, and then you can expand. Then you say, "Damn, I would like to add another solar panel. I would add, and that's when you start, that's when you log in and you look at my other videos that I'm going to be putting up, and you'll understand, what the limitations are, what you have to do, and that's the whole purpose of this. I want to help people build their solar systems from the ground up, so that they understand the whole concept of building a solar system. You know what I mean? And to let them know that you do not have to be an electrician to do this. Now, if you are gonna be trying from the get-go, I'm talking about, this is off-grid DIY information that I'm giving people. But if you want to hook up your system to the electric company and to all that, then this isn't the channel for you. You know what I mean? Because that requires, you to have licensing, and requires you to have certain knowledge of 120-volt systems, and to be an electrician. I'm teaching you how to make a small 12-volt solar system that you can use, for yourself. Sorry about that. My internet was reconnecting. But like I said, that's just the basics. I'm giving you guys the basics on how to start. And like I said, solar panels have two cables, black and red. You know, a battery has two posts, black and red. That's what this is all about. You hook up the black and red to the charge controller, then run some cables from the charge controller to the battery. Boom, you got a way to charge it. Then you get the inverter, you clip it on, black and red to the inverter, and you can hook stuff up. So, like I said, I know this is very limited. Like I said, I'm just covering the basics of this, but it kind of breaks the ice to people who want to build the system and think that it's going to be, like impossible and really hard. And that's what these small tutorials are for. So I hope you guys enjoyed these tutorials, and I'm going to continue putting them out. And so far, this is the fourth episode. So I did the first one on volts, the second one on what is a joule, on the third one was on something else. I don't even remember. Oh, I think it was on reserve capacity and amp hours, and then this one, so I'm taking baby steps for people. You know what I mean? Because I would have wanted for there to be a series of small steps, when I was learning. So if you like this channel, if you like this content, you want to make a contribution, the PayPal link will be in the description, and that'll help us, continue doing things and, doing more here about off grid and solar. So take care, guys. God bless, and I hope you enjoyed this video.